I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to a bonus episode of Old's Oscar Countdown. Just gave my updated Best Picture rankings for the new year, but with the Golden Globes occurring this weekend, I decided to do some predictions before the award show. For on Monday's show, I will be doing my reactions and thoughts and analysis based on the winners of the first major award show of the year. The Golden Globes have gone through a lot of change over the past couple of years, but I still think because they'll be televised, because they have history, because I think a lot of the celebrities will be showing up to the award show, there will be a lot of relevance in terms of the speeches. Not necessarily in terms of the Golden Globes predicting the winners of the Oscars, but when they do predict people and when they do award people, it gives these actors a chance to give a speech and to ultimately start their Oscar campaign, and that we've seen in the past does sway the Academy. But if you enjoyed these bonus episodes, it's always helpful to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss these extra videos, as well as like the video just so we can get a little bit more visibility. And if you want to hear my thoughts on different categories, use the timestamps in the description below to jump around and hear my thoughts. But I will be giving my thoughts in all of the film categories for the Golden Globes. So without further ado, let's jump into the Best Film Drama category prediction, with my prediction ultimately of the winner being Oppenheimer. And I went with Oppenheimer because the two big movies of the year are Oppenheimer and Barbie, the Barbenheimer phenomenon. Not only were they two of the highest box office movies of the year, they were also culturally very important and critically well acclaimed, and I think as a result we'll see those two movies really dominate the Golden Globes here on the drama side, mostly being Oppenheimer. Just because when we're talking about the Best Film Drama category, the Globes almost always historically have gone with the frontrunner to win Best Picture. Even if that movie doesn't end up winning Best Picture, they go with The Power of the Dogs or The Fabelmans last year. They go with the sort of front runner. They don't really stray and make strange choices in the drama category. Sometimes they'll do strange choices in the acting categories, but for the most part, the best film, they always go with the front runner. And the front runner right now to win is Oppenheimer in terms of betting odds, in terms of on Gold Derby, things like that. And if you look at the past 4 Best Director winners, they have also won the Best Film Drama category at the Globes. So I think a lot of people consider Christopher Nolan a lock right now to win for Best Director at the Globes. So if we want to do the recent trend of the Best Director winning Best Film Drama, I think Oppenheimer makes sense here. And I don't think it's controversial to say that Nolan is going to win Best Director. So let's not overthink this one. This isn't a category to maybe go with a surprise upset Killers of the Flower Moon. It should be pretty easily Oppenheimer's award to lose. Then my prediction for Best Actor in a Drama, I went with Cillian Murphy from Oppenheimer. And this is not necessarily a huge support for Cillian Murphy and his chances at the Globes, but I really don't like the sort of number 2 or number 3 options. I think a lot of popular sort of prediction in this category, and the frontrunner to win right now on a popular site like Gold Derby, is Bradley Cooper in Maestro. But I've never felt super confident in that prediction because I think the logic is surface level. I think for a lot of people, they go, oh, it's the Golden Globes. The Globes love flashy, showy performances. They should love Maestro and Cooper in it, right? Theoretically, yes, and it's not a terrible pick, but I didn't love it because, first of all, I think Cillian Murphy's performance is in a certain way also showy. It's not the super subtle, reserved performance that they're going to be forced to go with the showy one in Cooper and Maestro. Cillian's performance is also very haunted. He has those sunken eyes. He is the center part of the entire film. When you think of Oppenheimer, you think of him and the complexities and the inability to read him. Some of that mysteriousness, I think, will be attracting to Globes voters. So I do think Cillian does have a bit of a showy performance, not in the traditional sense of Cooper and wearing that makeup and transforming into someone else, but still a flashy and obvious performance nonetheless with Cillian. So I don't really think there's a huge difference in the showiness of the performances, so I wouldn't give an edge to Cooper on that area. We know Oppenheimer's a more well-liked movie than Maestro. I think it's going to win for Best Film Drama. That always helps to be a generally more liked movie. And then the one thing in the back of my mind that's stopping me from going with a Bradley Cooper is his A Star is Born performance. Let's not forget, I think in the 2018 Golden Globes, we look back on it and go, of course, yeah, Green Book and Bohemian Rhapsody, those were the big movies of the time. But the Globes were very unique and bold to make those predictions. Those weren't the popular predictions in 2018. I remember I was covering it on this channel. And A Star is Born should have been a classic Globes winner. Gaga should have won. It should have won for Best Film Drama. Cooper probably should have won as well. So the fact that it actually disappointed, despite being well nominated, A Star is Born was nominated for Best Director and was nominated in a bunch of the key categories, and it still lost back in 2018. It makes me concerned of, do they really like Maestro? If A Star is Born was a classic Globes movie and they didn't reward it, would they reward Maestro, which in a way should be a classic Globes movie as well? But they didn't like Cooper's last classic Globes movie, so there's a little bit of a hesitation there. Also, the Globes, this is a branch that nominated Sandra Hüller, or showed love for Fallen Leaves. They're an international group, and we know that when it played at Venice, Maestro had a tepid response. The international crowd did not really appreciate that film. When it played at New York, that's when it's had its big celebration and big critical evaluation. It's the Americans that really like Maestro, not the international members. So you have an international body in the Golden Globes. They haven't really liked Star is Born, Cooper's other sort of Globes-y, kind of a Globes-friendly movie. Are they really going to reward this performance just because it's showy? Is it so much more showy to give it over someone like a Cillian Murphy, the lead of a movie that they really like, that it also has its own kind of haunted, unique, transformational performance? I don't think it's enough. And really my support for Cillian is the support of Oppenheimer, and it's a lack of real belief in Cooper, in Maestro. So even though Cooper's the front runner to win, I think he's got some holes and some potential weaknesses that I don't see in Cillian. Then my prediction for Best Actress in a Drama, I'm going to go with Lily Gladstone from Killers of the Flower Moon. And that's because every year, the Globes in particular like to reward newcomers. Actors who they haven't seen in a lot of other movies, who star in one of the big movies of the year and really blow people away. Last year was Austin Butler in Elvis. They gave the reward to him. In years past, 21, it was Aaron DeBose for West Side Story, or Cody Smith-McPhee for Power of the Dog. 2019 was Awkwafina and Taron Egerton. 2020, you would say, was like Daniel Kaluuya, Judas and the Black Messiah, or Maria Bakalova for Borat. So they always like to reward these sort of new, surprising young performers who they hadn't seen in a lot of other movies. And Lily Gladstone, I think, fills that kind of a narrative, fills that void of the type of performance that they like to nominate. Because she's able to go up against legends in DiCaprio, in De Niro, and hold her own and be a memorable part of the film. A film, by the way, which they really like and respect. They've nominated in Best Director and Best Film Drama, and De Niro and DiCaprio. So we know that they like the film, and because I don't have it getting in for Best Film Drama, I don't get it in for something like a screenplay or even score. I think they're going to want to show the support for the film somewhere, and I think this makes the most sense as the sort of breakout surprise performance of the year. It's a mold, it's a type of performance that the Globes really like. I think this one is the most obvious of that kind of a who is this performance, because she's going up against these heavyweight actors and holding her own, and also doing a lot within the movie and sort of the subtlety that she brings. So I think that would be sort of the newcomer prize of the year. Then for my prediction for Best Comedy or Musical, I'm going to go with Barbie. And I also, in conjunction with this, want to talk about my prediction for the Best Screenplay Award, which is also going to be Barbie. And these lined up for a reason, so hear me out. So to understand why I went with Barbie for Best Comedy, you also have to realize why I predicted Barbie for Best Screenplay. So let's talk about my reasoning for Best Screenplay. I looked through the Best Screenplay winners for the past 7 years. And essentially, for the past 7 years, in order to win Best Screenplay, you have to fulfill two things. A, you either have to lose in the Best Drama category, or you have to win the Best Comedy film. That's the first sort of requirement that you have to meet to win Best Screenplay. The other requirement that you have to meet is you have to be a writer-director. The last 7 in a row were writer-directors. They got nominated for writing. They also got nominated for directing at the Globes. So you go through the requirements. The first requirement, you have to lose drama or win comedy. So Oppenheimer is not going to win screenplay because it's going to win drama. I don't think it's going to lose drama. So that removes that movie. Then all the other movies, all the 5 other movies can contend. But let's look at the second requirement. Justine Triet, writer-director, but she was not nominated for director at the Globes. Therefore, Anatomy of a Fall, cross that out, won't win Best Screenplay. Then you have a movie like Poor Things, which I think a lot of people think can contend in comedy or screenplay. But Yorgos Lanthimos, despite being nominated for Best Director, did not write the film. He's not a writer-director. The last 7 in a row have been writer-directors, so I'm going to cross out Poor Things. I don't think that could win, which leaves us with 3 movies that can potentially win. Number 1, Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese, also written by Martin Scorsese. But he is a co-writer in it with Eric Roth. I don't think a lot of people consider Martin Scorsese a writer, so while it will probably lose Best Film Drama to Oppenheimer, I don't think people consider Scorsese as a writer. I don't see the love for the movie, particularly in the writing sense. Despite the movie winning a lot of critics' prizes, it actually hasn't been winning a lot of screenplay critics' prizes. I think that's notable, so I don't think Killers is going to win. Then there's only 2 movies left that qualify for both of the types of winners of the past 7 years. One is Past Lives, because I think it's going to lose Best Drama. It's a writer-director, Cillian Song, who wrote the film and directed the film, and was also nominated for Best Director at the Globes. So, fulfills all the requirements. But when we look at movies that won screenplay and lost in drama, those were Belfast and Trial of the Chicago 7. And those 2 movies at the time were both major Oscar contenders. If you remember at the time, because I was covering the Oscars and the award season, it was Power of the Dog or Belfast. It was Nomadland or Trial of the Chicago 7. Those 2 movies, Belfast and Trial of the Chicago 7, were really high up in the potential Best Picture race. So it was a situation, I believe, of let's give Power of the Dog Best Picture, we'll give Belfast Screenplay. It was sort of a splitting of the support, a consolation prize, if you will. But Past Lives isn't that kind of a movie. We're not talking about what's going to win for Best Picture, Oppenheimer or Past Lives. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Oppenheimer and Poor Things and Holdovers and Barbie and maybe Killers. And Past Lives is in a 6, 7, 8 slot. So I don't really think they're going to go give a Past Lives a consolation prize, particularly because they can give Past Lives their consolation prize in the Best Film Not in an English Language category. So I don't really think Past Lives doesn't fit, even though it can lose in drama and is a writer-director nominee. It's not the type of screenplay winner that has won in the past that loses drama. Those are usually really well-liked potential Best Picture winners, consolation prizes, which Past Lives doesn't fit that sort of mold. So there's only 1 movie left to win Best Screenplay that fulfills all the requirements, and that's Barbie. Why? Well, it's a writer-director, the director's nominated, and it's a major contender for Best Comedy. So because Barbie is really the only logical, in my viewpoint, winner of the Best Screenplay Award, well, every screenplay winner either lost in drama or won Best Comedy. So as a result, I also predicted Barbie for Best Comedy. So it is a bit of a roundabout way of the 2 connections, but I looked at the past winners, I looked at the historical data, and I found out what are the types of movie that win Best Screenplay. And I found out that Barbie really was the only movie that fit all the requirements and made the most sense. And because every time a comedy film won Best Screenplay, they also won Best Film Comedy, I had to sort of continue that connection. And I think that, a lot of people feel on instinct, intuition, and I think and I feel, but sometimes when you're making predictions, you have to look at statistics, you have to look at facts, you have to look at past winners, and Barbie winning in comedy and winning in screenplay, I think makes the most sense and has the easiest trajectory. And I think if you want to talk about a narrative, doesn't it make a lot of sense that Oppenheimer and Barbie are the 2 big movies of the year, and they're going to walk away with Best Film Drama and Best Comedy or Musical? Can't you see that variety right up the night after the Globes? I can. So with the stats combined with a little bit of narrative, I think Barbie will win Best Comedy and Best Screenplay. Then my prediction for Best Actor in a Comedy or Musical Film, I went with Paul Giamatti in The Holdovers. And this is actually a secretly tough category to predict. It's either going to be Giamatti or it's going to be Jeffrey Wright. And in many ways, their movies are neck and neck. I thought Holdovers and American Fiction would get in for screenplay. Neither of them did. I thought Alexander Payne for The Holdovers would get nominated for Best Director. He didn't. But Cord Jefferson also didn't get nominated for Best Director. They both have the same amount of nominations, except Holdovers has 1 extra nomination for its supporting actress, Divine Joy Randolph. Both of the 2 men, Jeffrey Wright and Paul Giamatti, are character actors who are older, who have won a Golden Globe before, who have been multiple nominated at the Golden Globes. Ultimately, I went with Paul Giamatti because I think his movie is a little bit stronger. And this year, you have a year where pretty much the Golden Globe nominees were pretty standard, were pretty chalk. They pretty much predicted the top 6 on Gold Derby. There weren't any sort of big surprises. They were pretty standard. So if this is a standard year for the Golden Globes, go with the favorite, go with the actor who has won more Golden Globes, who's been nominated more times than Jeffrey Wright, who is also in, I believe, a stronger film. Even though they didn't, the holdover disappointed in terms of the nominations, I think overall it is still a more well-liked, stronger Best Picture contender in terms of the Oscars. I think the Golden Globes voters will keep that in mind, and I think they'll go with the easy pick. I think they'll go with Giamatti. Then Best Actress in a Comedy or Musical Film, I went with Emma Stone for Poor Things. And the real sort of debate, I think, in the comedy or musical category is, are you a Barbie fan or are you a Poor Things fan? And I think, as a result, some people go, okay, I'm going to put Barbie in comedy and screenplay and then also actress. Or I'm going to go Poor Things for Emma Stone and screenplay and comedy. And I think that's a little bit of a mistake to immediately just go all three or nothing. I think there's going to be a split. Because I believe Barbie's going to win screenplay and going to win picture, I think they're going to want to show some support for Poor Things because they do like this film. So this makes the most sense. Because Margot Robbie, despite being the central part of Barbie, I don't think is the standout of the movie. I think for a lot of people it's Ryan Gosling, or it's the dialogue, or it's sort of the crazy world. Whereas Poor Things, it really is in many ways on Emma Stone and her shoulders. It's a huge acting job. She does a lot of physical work. She is very strange in the film. It is a very unique character. And I think there will be appreciation of that with the Academy, just the sort of boldness and over the top and commitment that Emma Stone has to her character. And I've been saying it all year, that I think Poor Things will perform very similarly to Yorgos Lanthimos' last movie, The Favourite. And his last movie only won one Golden Globe for Olivia Colman, Best Lead Actress in a Comedy or Musical. I also think that the same is going to repeat here. I think Emma Stone is going to be the only winner for Poor Things for a comedy or musical, because she really goes for it, because they want to give a bit of a consolation prize, some support to Poor Things, because I predict they're going to go with Barbie in comedy and screenplay. So this is an easy way to reward Poor Things and Emma Stone. Then in the Best Supporting Actress category, I'm going to go with Emily Blunt from Oppenheimer. And this is my big surprise of the year, because the Golden Globes every year, they usually like to go with some big surprise winner. They don't always go with the top, front runners in every category. We will have an Aaron Taylor Johnson, or a Sam Rockwell, or an Andra Day. We're always seeing some surprise every year. And I think that the Best Supporting Actress category is the most ripe for a surprise. Just look at last year. We had the surprise when Angela Bassett won for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And when we look at the Golden Globes and their appreciation for the Supporting Actors category, they don't really like to reward the newcomers as much. For the most part, it's the legacy actors. Let's give it to Allison Janney for I, Tonya, which, by the way, wasn't a guarantee at the time. But let's give it to her. Let's give it to Laura Dern for Marriage Story. Let's give it to, last year, Angela Bassett for Wakanda Forever. Instead of the young actress in something like a Carrie Condon, they went with Angela Bassett. I think the frontrunner in this category early on was Lily Gladstone, but because she's campaigning in the Best Lead Actress category, there hasn't been really any award shows to show support for one actor over another. I think Divine Joy Randolph is the sort of placeholder right now, because a lot of people don't know who it's going to be. But if you remember the Holdovers, it disappointed at the Golden Globes. It didn't get in for Paint. It didn't get in for Dominic Sessa. It didn't get in for Screenplay. So it underperformed at the Golden Globes. So I don't think the Globes love the Holdovers as much. And this performance by Divine Joy Randolph, while excellent, is a little bit more subtle. It is a little bit more depressed. It's not necessarily a flashy, showy, singing type of performance that the Globes have liked in the past. So I think this category is ripe for an upset. So I went with Emily Blunt. Why? She's only won one Golden Globe once, and it was a long time ago. I think this could be the start of her, and she's never been nominated for an Oscar. I think this will be the start of, let's give Emily Blunt an Oscar. It's time. She's put in enough great work. She's been nominated 7 times at the Globes, so we know they love her. And they've rewarded her for a film. They rewarded her for her first nominee, but that was, years ago. Oh, and by the way, she's also in the most well-liked movie of the year, in Oppenheimer. And she does have a bit of a showy performance in herself. I mean, being the alcoholic, being sort of the reserved, unpleasant mother. She has also her one big scene where she, dismantles Jason Clarke's character, and it is kind of a great Oscar clip. So she does have memorable parts from the movie in a movie that's well-liked. She's an actress that's really well-liked. This is the same reason why someone like a Jamie Lee Curtis ended up winning the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once. When we have a category like we do in the Best Supporting Actress category that has a potential for upset, where I think there's a placeholder winner where there's not necessarily a whole lot of passion for the front runner to win. This is where we see the upsets, and I do have a passion for my actor. I have a passion for her movie. I have a showy performance. She does really check a lot of the boxes. So I think for a lot of people, they're sort of going, yeah, I guess I'll go with Divine Joy Randolph. But I think you should think about it twice. Maybe go with Danielle Brooks, maybe go with someone else. The Globes are always going to surprise you in one category, so this was my sort of big surprise acting category. I felt like Emily Blunt could be a major contender for this award. Then my prediction for Best Supporting Actor, I went with Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. Don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but pretty much ever since I saw the film, even if Oppenheimer wasn't a major Oscar contender, I think Robert Downey Jr. still would have won. He's never won an Oscar before, so I think the Golden Globes sort of get on this train, get on this narrative of it's his time. We do see these narratives happen occasionally. I think he'll be very charismatic and charming. He has been campaigning, and because the Golden Globes don't have as many members as the Oscars, it's easier to affect their decision by campaigning, by going to parties, by meeting them. And Robert Downey Jr. is an expert charmer and campaigner. He's got a really sort of transformative performance in one of the year's most well-liked movies. I think they want him to say something and say a speech, which is probably going to be terrific. I think this is the beginning of Robert Downey Jr.'s path towards an Oscar, and I think the Globes will want to support that. Best Director, I'm going to predict Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, which I think makes a lot of sense. I don't really see a clear number two that could win. Nolan has never won a Golden Globe before. He's never won an Oscar before. I think this is going to be his year because he's never won before, because his 3-hour biopic almost made $1 billion at the box office. People went out to see him, which no other director in modern day Hollywood can say. Not your Michael Bay's or your Tarantino's or your Scorsese's. He's really the only one that commands that kind of attention and respect, and he's never won before. And I think for this kind of material, prestige, biopic, it's the kind of movies that they like. So the fact that he's never won before, because it's such a director achievement, the technical elements, the music, the editing, but then also all these acting nominations and all the support, like I mentioned at the top of the episode, Oppenheimer is one part. You can't tell the story of the year without talking about Barbenheimer. It's one part of the story of the year, and I think Nolan will be recognized for that, and rather than something like Greta Gerwig, just because Oppenheimer is a little bit more of the prestige element in the factor. And the fact that the past 4 Best Director winners also won for Best Film Drama. I think if you think Oppenheimer's getting in for Best Film Drama, you also have to have Nolan here for Best Director. Then my prediction for Best Animated Feature, I went with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and 4 out of the last 5 Best Animated Feature winners for the Golden Globes also overlapped with the winners at the Oscars. And if you look at the past 10 years, 8 out of the last 10 winners of the Golden Globe Award also won at the Academy Awards. So there is a clear overlap between this and the Oscars. They usually like to predict, and often do predict, the frontrunner, whether that be Coco or Inside Out or Into the Spider-Verse. There is some maybe surprise with a potential Boy and the Heron win, but Boy and the Heron actually hasn't been winning a lot of critics' prizes for Best Animated Feature. For the most part, it actually has been Across the Spider-Verse. So it has the critical support, it has the mainstream factor. Let's not forget that the Golden Globes, this is the group that rewarded or gave nominees to The Boss Baby, or this year Super Mario Brothers. They like the sort of big Hollywood mainstream movies in terms of animation. They didn't nominate Miyazaki's last film, The Wind Rises. They usually like the bigger Hollywood movies, and Across the Spider-Verse has the critical support, has the sophistication, has the creativity, but is still also mainstream enough, and that will be able to connect with all different types of Globes voters. So I do think they're going to go pretty basic and going to go with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Best non-English language film, I'm going to go with Past Lives. Didn't want to overthink this one. It's either going to be this movie or Anatomy of a Fall. Anatomy of a Fall got in for Best Lead Actress, got in for Screenplay, and got in for Best Film Drama. Past Lives got in for those 3 categories, actress, screenplay, drama, but also got nominated for Best Director, which indicates to me that there's an even more support for a movie like Past Lives. We've seen movies from USA be rewarded in this category, movies like Minari, movies like Letter from Iwo Jima. So it's not uncommon for a United States movie to win in this category, and because she was nominated Cillian Song for Best Director, I think this makes sense. Rather than something like Screenplay, this makes sense to show the support and reward for the film here, and then we can give a movie like Barbie something like Screenplay and sort of spread the love that way. Then for Best Score, I went with Oppenheimer. They've never rewarded Ludwig Göransson, despite him being rewarded an Oscar for Black Panther. And every year they usually go with the most musical score, the one that's the most obvious, that's most played the most, or is in your face the most, which is why they like the musical scores of someone like a Justin Hurwitz or an Alexander Desplat. And I think Göransson, because so much of the movie is scored, there's these iconic themes from the film that you can immediately recognize. I think it makes the most sense because that's the most music and the most recognizable kind of themey music and musical music that you can listen to on Spotify. Oppenheimer kind of fits that bill. Then for Best Song, I'm going to go with What Was I Made For from Barbie. This is also my prediction to win for the Oscars, and they usually overlap with the Oscars for Best Original Song. And when they do predict their movies for Best Song, they go with the piano ballads. They go with the Bond songs, the softer songs. They don't go with the poppy songs. They go with, like I said, the Bond songs, or the IOC, or Love Me Again from Rocket Man. They don't really like to go for the big over-the-top musical numbers, which is why I don't think they're going to go with a movie like Dance the Night, or even something like I'm Just Ken, the funny or the poppy songs they don't go with. They go with the emotional songs. So the fact that Barbie had 3 songs nominated in this category, I think there's not going to be a split, a divide of support. I think there's going to be some support towards one song. And I think What Was I Made For has the pop star element, has the celebrity element, because it's from Billie Eilish and Phineas, past Golden Globe winners. But also it has the sort of prestige and the artistic element as well, because it's not just trashy pop, it's art pop, because Billie Eilish has won, Grammys, and it is a little bit more emotional with the piano ballad and things like that, rather than the, seen lesser pop song, for example, like Dance the Night, which, not necessarily that it is lesser, but that's the sort of perception of it. And I think as a result, people will go with What Was I Made For? And then my final prediction is going to be for the Best Cinematic and Box Office Achievement, in which I went with Barbie. This is a new category, so we don't have any historical precedent as to what's going to win. I went with Barbie very simply because it's a well-nominated, well-liked movie, but also it was the #1 box office movie of the year. So this is why this category is a little bit dumb, because we already know what the #1 box office movie of the year is. So theoretically, they should give it to Barbie. And if they do give it to Barbie, it'll be even more of a pointless award, because we already know Barbie is the #1 box office movie of the year. So, of course, it's going to win probably the Box Office Achievement Award. Who knows? But, we don't know. We don't have any historical precedent. So it's kind of a guess in the dark on this one. So for me, I just went with Barbie because it was the #1 box office movie of the year. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you comment below. I'd love to hear your comments and your predictions for the Golden Globes. Let me know where I was wrong, or where you agree with me, or you think I'm crazy with some of my long shots. But that's about it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, stay tuned.